It's our culture, our community, where tech and capitalism meet. This is Cap Culture.
No cap.
What's up, everybody? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
I like that.
We are back, but we are not at the traditional B Mill studio or Be Great studio.
Be Great studio. Be Great
We
studio.
are out in DeSoto with Geeklets today. So before we get into that, you guys know me as Janae, JB, Janae the Great, whichever one I prefer. All of them are great. To my left.
Jeff, aka J Will. Brandon, aka B Mills.
Awesome. And we have a special guest today. We have Danny Martin, who is the CEO, the co-founder and executive director of Geeklets.
Hello, you guys.
Awesome. So we are here, like I said, in DeSoto at the Geeklets facility. And if you guys are not familiar with Geeklets, we're going to let Danny talk a little bit about what Geeklets is, how you guys came into fruition, and what you guys are doing currently and what the future looks like for you guys.
Yes, so thank you guys so much for allowing Geeklies to grace you guys' presence. Thank you guys for coming out here. Esports is growing, and we know that it's a trend that can help individuals turn what they did where they was playing happily, and now they can be able to see a career in so many different aspects. So one of the biggest dynamics of Geeklies being present today is we wanted to be able to offer a space for individuals to be able to compete in games such as Fortnite and Call of Duty and NBA 2K and a whole host of other games that are out there, and then also allow content creators to be able to share their passions with the world just as much, particularly in the form of podcasting and then also streaming. So we just really want to be able to bring something dope to DeSoto, Texas, and the southern sector of Dallas for our culture.
Yeah, wow. So can you explain why you guys chose South Dallas as like your location?
Yes,
why
for sure.
Is this home for you?
Well, before we were in this 15,000 square foot space,
Slave flex. Say it one more time. Before we were in this 15,000 square foot.
We were in a 2,000 square foot basement. So in that moment, we were able to see in downtown two dynamics. One, individuals from the southern sector go to downtown to be able to compete and be around a community, because that's what esports is. And then the second dynamic is see individuals from the northern area of Dallas come down to that same space for the community in itself. And we recognize where the intensity, where the entertainment come from, and we recognize as the same sense is it's easier for us to get someone from the northern to come down to the southern, but it's much harder for the southern to come up to the northern.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So in this instance, we just wanted to bring it down here because we recognize not only from a philanthropic perspective, but also just from a straight business and opportunity perspective.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, you see NBA and the NFL, their ratings are based off of entertainment because we love the stories. We love the backstories of our artists and athletes and them and the collaborations that take place. And I see it just as happening in esports.
Yeah.
So we really want to be able to bring another dynamic. And another reason for DeSoto is this is a sports-centric city. You have individuals like Von Miller, you have Earl Spence up the street.
Yeah.
In this instance, the community speaks sports, and we really wanted to be able to bring another unique facet to sports to this area.
Yeah, and DeSoto in general just has a unique history and purpose, in Black culture here. Could you talk more about that?
Yes, for sure. So when it comes down to it, I'm from the southern
I'm
sector.
It's your neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure. Growing up in this area, like going to West Junior High and going to Oak Cliff schools like Bow Story and some SOC areas, and then graduating from Lancaster, I know a lot of people in this area. And we've all been inspired by each other. Our growth is based off of who we've seen and how we've learned from our community in this area. Yeah. So for me, culture is everything. I wouldn't be in this seat right now if it wasn't between the individuals who I grew up with, who've gone out to college, who've gone to large organizations, who've done creative things within themselves. And it keeps us all going. Yeah. And I think that's the coolest things about this area.
Yeah.
That's super dope. I remember, I think I first met you maybe 3 years ago,
and just kind of seeing the progression of Geek Leads like from then until now has been amazing. So kudos to you.
Yes.
I think one of the like most unique things that I know about you is just kind of your backstory and like the time that you spent on the West Coast,
Yes.
coming back here, really building the brand. Can you talk a little bit about like your backstory and why you're so passionate about this?
Yes, for sure. So, growing up in the southern sector of sports was something that was pushed a lot. I remember, being young and my mother or father always saying, you're going to be the next NBA star. So you grew up with that thought process that I'm going to make the NBA.
Yeah.
And so we went outside playing basketball all day, all night. We ran track, we played football, and this area is known for sports. So for me, going to Lancaster and running track was like, all right, well, I hope to be able to get to college because this may be my best opportunity. And when that happened, I was already looked back at my past, and my past was entrepreneurship because my uncles were entrepreneurs. Now, granted, they weren't the top CEOs. They come from prison, so they didn't have no choice but to find hustles, whether that's barbecues, cutting yards, whatever. And I was right next to them. So going to college for me, I already knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So in this instance, I looked at from running track. I told myself like, all right, I'm in college, I'm running track, but I also know like you in track, you either go to Olympics, but you ain't gonna get a lot of money like NBA or NFL. So my mind was already focused in on finding the next thing. And going to college for entrepreneurship, I already knew I just had to find my passion. If I find something I love, I can build a business around it. So in this instance, it was clear as day. One of my teammates was like, hey, I know somebody who can fix our consoles. And I'm sitting here like, oh, snap, for real? And they're like, yes, so they can play the game. And my perspective was like, oh, I need to learn how to do this because this is a way for me to make some money. And when you think about mentors is key in life. You have to have somebody have a mentor. So, I found the individual who did it. He was off the campus, probably like 45 minutes away from the campus. And at that moment, I took him some consoles. And, like on campus, I would tell people I was, fixing them. And I would take their consoles, take them to him, have him fix it, just sit there and look at them.
You know that? You don't know that.
So you have a reputation on campus that you're fixing all the consoles. That's dope.
For sure. And that's cool, Here's the cool thing about life is that, I asked him, I took so many consoles to him where I had to like, hey, Jay, I'm taking you consoles. Is it possible I can be able to do this in my dorm room? Yeah. And he was just like, dude, you done took so many consoles here. Like, do your thing. Like, you going to be something. And so I just started on campus and out of my dorm room, started fixing Xboxes. I'll basically take the Xbox apart. At that moment, people be smoking. Good little side hustle. Yeah. I go into it like at this instance, like at that time, Xbox had Red Rings of Death. So you'll take that console to Microsoft. It'll probably take like 3 months just for you to get it, or you're paying $200. Well, the machine that we built, it allowed it to be able to be fixed in like 20 minutes, and I would charge like $50 to $60. So if I get 10 consoles, I wake up in the morning in college and be like, I gotta get 10 consoles. So I'm knocking on everybody's dorms. I got a little sheet. They looking at me like, what are you gonna do with my console? Are you gonna bring it back or what? And I just that helped me overcome fear of no, right? And that's your normal business components. And I started building. And my entrepreneurship teacher was like, dude, people are recognizing that you running around campus with this duffel bag and you just got Xboxes in your duffel bag. Like you some drug dealer or something. And she said, when I told people about you, you don't have a social media. So like you need to get a social media so, you can start branding yourself. You're an entrepreneur. So that was like my next insight on how to brand yourself. So I started using social media at that time. And then she took that information and she reached out to an individual in San Francisco who had just left eBay and wanted to create a company that utilized gamification. So instead of bidding on items that you want to be able to purchase, you will play games and you accumulate points on those, and then you can be able to save on your items based off of how many points you've accumulated.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was really, really dope, And so in this instance, he was able to raise a significant amount of capital. And I started to see what it looks like in San Francisco from a VC and a tech startup.
So when you went to San Fran, that's what you were working on?
Yeah, that's what I was working on out there. So that was one of the experiences of tech startups. But the most humbling experience is that, You know, I'm the only African American in this startup, and then when I walk out of my door and I go walk maybe 2 to 3 miles, I am looking at individuals who look like me, either on drugs, street sweepers, basically blue collar jobs, or the blue collar jobs that I've seen, or outside of the blue collar jobs, is real tough because
Yeah.
San Francisco is expensive.
Yeah.
So you're in Oakland or somewhere else, but if you're in San Francisco, like it don't look as good when it comes down to people who look like us. So me coming down and walking every day to work, I automatically knew like I got one chance, and I better not mess this up, you know.
Yeah.
So it was one of those instances where you have to take advantage of every single thing, every opportunity that you get, and learn as much as you possibly can. And in that instance, I also recognize when I go into the actual space, I am amongst individuals that are Carnegie, Harvard, coming from Intuit, some of the smartest individuals in the world. So in this instance, it's like, all right, I'm here for a reason. But at the same sense, I know I'm coming from, you know, the southern sector of Dallas. So there's also doubt, you know, that comes in there. And there's a term that is being kicked around. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but identifying if you're supposed to be at the table. I forgot the name.
Imposter syndrome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. You know, that dynamic, you know, it's like that feel of like, damn, do I supposed to be here? You know? But it forces you to work. It forces you to push a lot because you are doubting yourself internally. And then once you get the confidence, then you're like, all right,
And then
man.
you come into it, what, 15,000?
Yeah, then you come into you're not fear to failure, you know. So just that overall, all of those instances, and then also experiencing a company to where it is booming, and then out of the blue, one thing can happen, and it can take you from 2 million, 2,000 to 15,000, or 15,000 back to 2,000. You know, in this instance, it was the reverse. And I recognize, like, you know, like we had a large startup, and it went down in a matter of seconds. You know, just because Facebook created sponsor posts. So that let me know like how big a giant like Facebook was, and how they can be able to create one component and it can shut your whole business model down if you are utilizing their components to help your business. You know, so that was one of the biggest things that let me know. So just taking all of that insight, I recognized that I was in gaming, I knew gaming. When I would take someone console, I would be able to get the data of who plays, how they play, when they play, how they look when they play. And when I wanted to be able to host tournaments on campus, I would be able to go directly to the individual who had FIFA in their console. I'll keep all that data. So in my instance, I knew exactly. I
feel like you're like light years ahead.
Yes.
You know, like we're going about so many things right now.
Because I'm a solo.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, data. And
Yeah.
you mentioned you were able to, how are you getting that information?
Yeah, so
And how are you able to like store that, or where were you storing that?
yeah, really storing it on an Excel sheet. When
Okay.
I get your console, when you need it fixed, and so many individuals' consoles need to fix at that time, when you open up a console, you can see the disc inside of there. Or when you turn the console, you can see how many games they've played, how long they've been able to play. And so just accumulating that data, I can be able to say, I want to do a Madden tournament, and I know everybody who's played Madden.
And who's
Like
been playing it more? Who's been playing?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Like, how did you get
crazy.
the amount of times that they were playing?
You can see the amount of times that they're playing inside of the game. Like, you can go to the backlogs of it, and you can see, like, how long an individual has
You was in there
been.
doing research.
Right.
You was doing research on the building.
Yeah, for sure.
Bruh,
Yeah, for
like
sure,
I didn't
for
know
sure.
that
That's next
data.
level.
I didn't know that data existed.
Yeah,
And it's,
for sure.
So it's in
You
the
can see it on
physical.
your, like, you can see it. It's you know, when you accrue what the point setups. I forgot what the name of the point, but you can see how many actual tokens you get as you play the game. Achievements. So
Yeah.
you can see your achievements. If you go to somebody's achievements, you can see how long they've been able to play the game and every game that they've been able to play.
Was that your initial goal when you were starting to like?
No,
Or
actually,
you just
no.
like stumbled
I
upon it
just
like,
stumbled like,
this
oh
is
man,
some useful data.
this is useful. You know, I want to host
Yes.
tournaments. So in this instance, like, oh, I know I have a whole log of everybody who's been able. And I started keeping that data. So in this instance, when I host a tournament, people will be like, oh, you host a tournament, you had a good turnout on your tournament. How can I host tournaments and make money? And that was my instance of knowing, like, okay, I can only teach so many people
Yeah.
how to host a tournament. So I knew I needed to be able to create a platform that allows individuals to host their own tournaments, like Airbnb and Uber. So going up to San Francisco, it was the only means because that's where those companies are at. So I went up there with the thought process, I got to find somebody who knows technology enough to show me how to make the next Airbnb and Uber for tournament hosting.
That
Gotcha.
is crazy. So wait, can I back up really quick?
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
pretty sure everyone in this room plays video games.
Yeah,
except
for sure,
me.
for sure.
So, The Sims don't count.
I was going to say, we just had a conversation.
I really want to understand this concept of what esports versus gaming is.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
trying to put context
you.
clues together, and I'm getting it, but
Yeah.
I want to hear like a
Yes.
formal definition.
Yes, for sure. So you have your casual games. Those
Yeah.
are games that you can play with yourself.
The Sims.
You can just The Sims,
Okay.
right? Yeah, perfect example.
Okay.
And then you have your highly competitive games. The
2K.
games 2K,
Okay.
right? 2K, Madden,
So
FIFA,
only two
Apex, Fortnite,
Okay.
League of Legends, Dota, Counter
You
Strike,
can
all
get
of those
online
games.
and play.
You can get online. You
Okay.
can have a leaderboard, and it's clear
Mhm.
that you have to have a skill set to be
Mhm.
able to be the top.
Okay.
When it's clear that you're the best at this game,
Mhm.
it's considered an esports game.
Okay.
So it's only a game that you can play against someone. I take
Yes.
like my favorite game growing up was like Crash Bandicoot.
Mhm.
Like a game like that.
Not necessarily, my man. It's going to be more of like racing, like realistic
Right.
racing. So like
Got you.
a Forza or Gran Turismo. So
Right, perfect,
Crash,
perfect.
yeah,
I
Crash
got it.
Bandicoot. But I'll even say this though: you have games like Mario Kart
Yeah.
that I'm seeing that are being played on a high level.
And I can see that,
Yeah, yeah.
because like you can have multiple
You
people
can have-
playing at once.
yes,
and
for
it's
sure.
not, but it's not games that follow like a storyline.
Yeah, I
as
think in
much,
esports it's
with
really
boards
there's
and
a
stuff
there's
like
a there's a translucent line, and
Yeah.
I guess that esports really categorizes itself based off of how much money is made in the game from a
Okay.
competition level.
Okay.
What sponsors are putting up money for? Is there a 500,000 prize purse? Is there $1,000 or $1 million prize purse?
That goes
that
straight
really-
into my question because people are making like a lot of money
A lot,
off of this.
yes,
like,
for
didn't,
sure.
Oh, what happened to the little teenage boy
The
who won
16-year-old,
all
yeah.
that million? How much money did he
It
win?
was
Three,
it
wasn't
was
it?
3 million.
$3
$3
million.
million. Yeah, for
like
sure.
how did we get to this space
Yes,
where
for sure.
like people are able to like their lives are being completely changed?
Yes, for
Can you,
sure.
like,
Because
talk
of
about
how competitive the game is.
Yeah.
So if you have millions of individuals that are playing this particular game,
Yeah.
and there's a leaderboard set on it, that's a million eyeballs that actual brands are looking to attract to get in front of.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
these
so
brands are
it's
saying, hey, I will put up $1 million or $10 million
Yeah.
to be able to get my brand seen by all the people who are watching this person who's really, really good
Mhm.
from a Twitch perspective or a YouTube perspective. So the prize
Wow.
parts are coming from the actual brand.
So is it the gaming brands, or is it like, are you seeing like other
Mhm.
brands that are kind of participating in that?
It's
purse?
both.
It's
You
both.
know, you
Yeah.
have games
What are
like
some
you
of
have
the major ones?
you have Riot, you have Blizzard.
Okay.
These individuals, League of Legends.
Okay.
You have that of Epic, which is Fortnite. You
Mm-hmm.
have these individuals. You also have Samsung. You have that of you're seeing Toyota. You're
Mhm.
seeing all kind of Monster, Red Bull. You're seeing so many brands that are populating inside of this space.
How do you think they got to this point, though? I'm interested in like because it seems like it's just blown up, especially in like recent years with the like development of all this new technology.
Mhm.
Where does our culture come into that? Like,
Mhm.
what role did we play in this explosion of gaming?
Yeah, culture played such a critical role, and that's the actual entertainment aspect. We have stories that we have to tell. You guys are here on a podcast right now because you felt the need to express individual stories because the individuals that you're around have really dope stories.
Yeah.
And that's how it actually blown up from a perspective of our culture in esports. And there's no different from me being in esports. I have a story from an entrepreneur African American perspective, but there's also individuals that come inside of here that are really, really good that have their own stories that I try to highlight that, that's the basis of it. So just the entertainment and enthusiasm of an individual who spends so many hours playing a game and really want to be able to say, hey, I want to get my mom out the hood.
Yeah.
Or I want to be able to go to college on a scholarship for
Yeah.
esports. When I see that, it's like, it kind of takes me back like, oh, you really in here playing this game? And your thought process is that I'm trying to get out, And I'm
And
just
that's like the same story of people trying to go to the league.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to go to the league, get my mom out there.
Yeah,
that narrative
sure.
is.
It
And
is.
it's following that same path.
It is,
That's,
for
yeah,
sure.
that's pretty interesting.
So I would feel, I guess, if I had a hypothesis, the stories need to be blasted.
Yes.
So like really, to answer your question, I would imagine like what really like turned it up, like gaming or made it explode would probably be, you talked about Twitch and
Mhm.
YouTube. So like the idea that we can stream and like watch people play the game.
Mhm.
Like, is that really what was driving
Yes.
it to go from like the geeky stuff to like now it's like pop culture?
Yes, for sure. So you got to think of the geeky stuff where individuals didn't have as many. They didn't have the entertainment behind them, but they had the skill set and a different genre or ethnicity. You found it. I always coin it like chess, right? And esports, it's if I'm really inspired by you, and I've been researching you, and I like your game. If I was in a different area, I play you, I beat you, or you beat me. I get up, I shake your hand, I go about my way, and that's esports.
Yeah.
One of the things we recognize here is that I'm going to look at you, I'm going to talk about your mama, I'm going to talk about your dad, I'm going to get in front of your face, I'm going to try to get you out of your game. And that's where the culture comes in. That's where the entertainment comes in.
Go
And
have
that's-
somebody stand up. When you play bad and stuff. When you go to
Yes, that's when it comes into it, man. So you just like kind of hitting them, trying to catch them everything out of it, and that's what we've seen, and that's what we really want to be able to highlight, because that's cool for TV.
Yeah.
And with that though, like walk us back though, like where does Geekless fit into
Yes.
the gaming
Yes,
industry?
for sure. So esports is looked at as a big bubble right now.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's looked at as a big bubble, because you have these large esports organizations that are spending millions of dollars on these leagues and these players.
Yeah.
But there's no real recruitment system that's there. There's barely even in colleges. There's barely even in high schools that have esports clubs. And so most of these large esports organizations are finding players from their basement or their room because they're streaming, in which you actually bring this player onto a team and expect them to be together with this team. He ain't never been with nobody in his life, living with them. And it's a hard-pressed thing to be able to interact. So large esports organizations are spending so much time trying to mesh the individuals, but they didn't go through a natural process like you would go through in high school and you'll go to college, and the whole teaming aspect. And so one of the things that we recognize
Just
here
mind's
is
blown right now.
This sounds like basketball and like AAU or like football and Pop
for
Warner.
sure, yeah. So Geekly's
So
right now,
So the large organizations really is like
they need it.
like they're just teams.
They're
That's
just
basically what you're
teams,
saying?
yeah. They're just teams right now, and they need a platform. So when you have an organization like Geekly's come in, so far we have 5 players that have come through Geekly's that are in the professionals right now. One of our players just won $360,000. And so in
I'm
this
in the wrong industry.
so in this instance, they're coming to us because like Mavericks has a team, Pacers have a team, Milwaukee has an NBA 2K team. They're coming here because they're not picking them up from college. They're not picking them up from high school.
They don't have anything.
They don't have
So
their
you're grooming these players, you're
grooming the
coaching
players.
them,
Yes,
teaching them how to play with others.
It is a performance grooming facility.
That's
Wow,
fire.
yes, for
That's
sure.
fire.
That's okay.
And then we have the
Baseball,
ability.
farming, minor league.
Yes,
So
for
you're
sure.
like a G League. Like
We're a G League.
You're a development
You're really a
league.
G League.
Yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, so
Literally,
you're a
the
development
Geekly's
league. All right, so for the audience, because I'm learning.
I was about to say, we
something.
gotta break that down.
Right, all
Break that down, 'cause I
So
don't know
what
that
I'm
means.
getting
Yeah.
at right now is this. So there's a whole bunch of money in gaming because people are paying and brands want our attention
Yes,
on their brands.
yes,
So then you've got people who are really good at these games, and you got folks that want to watch them play these games.
yes.
Right? And then the people who are playing the games, they want to make money because they're good at it.
Yes.
It was like, I'm so good, they putting money up,
Mhm.
and the money is coming from the organizations. They're
Yes,
coming
for
from
sure.
the brands.
Mhm.
So then you have organizations that's like, well, cool, I got the people.
I got to be up for sure.
And for the league, it's like, I want to play the player. He wants to play and show his skill set at a high level
Mhm.
in front of everybody to make more money. So the organizations is creating that for them.
Mhm.
So then the Geeklicks and these other organizations, they're actually just grooming those players up
Mhm.
and providing them the space to share their talent and
Exactly.
make money off of it.
Exactly. So you got to think about it. The NBA, 5-6 years ago, they disapproved players coming straight out of high school, right?
Right.
And they made them go through college to help them groom themselves, understand finances, understand how to take care of your mentality, psychology, and all of that. Well, in esports, everybody's coming out of high school.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody. So
Mhm.
it needs some type of farming system, some type of grooming system, and that's what we are.
So with that, so then how do you develop the players?
That was my
Like, what
question.
does the development
Yes.
look like?
So in this instance, we have been able to put together a curriculum. We also
It's
allow.
like an after-school program.
Yes, for
Okay.
sure. We have,
Okay.
we built out the 81 lesson
This is
plan
all
that
about-
goes over anything from that of the genres of esports to that of
This
also
is-
toxicity online to also how to be able to build
yeah.
PCs.
Because they love calling
Like, all
us
of
the
those-
N word.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to make sure we got to too.
Yeah. But like I think when we're transitioning, like keep going with this developmental perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
'Cause
Yeah, so in this instance, you're seeing that development that comes in that's very, very critical for the actual organizations because they need to they need a ROI.
Yeah.
So they're looking to be able to, if they're going to pay someone a lot of capital, they want to make sure they're going to be there for some time so they can see that return on investment. So for us, we're looked at as being able to make sure that if you come through Geek Leads, you are going to have a good player, not only from just the stick skills, but just in overall life
Soft
perspective, the
skills,
soft skills
yeah.
and all of that. And then the next dynamic is even if you don't make it to the league, there's industry in esports is growing so rapidly as an organization of myself. If I want to put that player on the main stage or give them that branding, I need someone to be able to help me do that. That's videography now. That's photography now. That's graphic design. That's production.
Wow.
That's content creation in all fronts. That is
This is amazing.
writing, journalism. There's coding. There's so many skill sets that I personally need as a founder that helps me provide what I need to provide to those players. And that's in itself, if you coming through our platform and you do something with it, now you're able to take that portfolio and send it off to any other esports organization that are looking for that same talent or any other organization outside of esports.
So how does the organization then make the money then?
Yeah, so the organization make money off of winning the prize prizes.
Okay, so the organization splits that with the players.
Yes.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
just
Like in salary.
like
so,
sports, okay.
so a player will get a salary.
Oh my
That
gosh.
brand will give a prize purse. And that team that wins that prize purse, that team now has $2 million in their prize purse, and they're already paying salaries, and they give a bonus to the players.
Wow.
The bonus comes from winning.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think you kind of breezed past it. I'm really fascinated with the curriculum aspect.
Yes,
Because
Yeah.
you broke
for
down
sure.
not only like the skill set for gaming, but everything else.
Mhm.
Can you speak on how that's nuanced? And like I feel like the next generation are like young gamers that are looking to kind of get into the industry, figure out a way to get capital out of this industry.
Mhm.
If it was me, I'm thinking, okay, the gaming skill sets.
Exactly.
Is everything else like nuanced? Like
Everything
from
is
like
so
PR,
nuanced.
content creation.
Yes.
Like, how can I get in this? How can I make some money? That's what I want to know.
Exactly.
Hey, yo, you selling this curriculum?
That's what I'm saying.
And this is what you
Like,
can give to like moms, like, yo,
Right.
like your kid likes games.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
let
my
me
phone
put
is
this-
my phone is everybody's calling my phone right now saying, "Hey, how can my son get into this industry?"
I want
You
the
know?
lady I mentioned to you earlier. I want to make sure she has your
Yeah,
information.
for sure,
that curriculum,
definitely.
because
That's where we're at right now. Is
Crazy.
that if I can't
gosh.
tell your son or your daughter that they can be the next gamer, then I can also say, "Hey, well, here's a pipeline that you
Yeah.
can go
Yeah.
because they may be too young at that
Yeah,
moment."
yeah.
You know.
So, and we also talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the episode or beforehand, but you're competing with, the Mark Cubans, who
Yes,
has his
for sure.
facility, Jerry Jones, who has his facility. You got Danny of Geek Leads,
Yes, for sure.
black-owned facility.
Yes.
How
That's
how
dope.
are you seeing? Like,
Yeah.
do you see challenges in the space?
Oh man, this is
Like-
cool. I see challenges, but I also see opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
One of the coolest things is that before any of these esports arenas, stadiums were built, we were in our basement,
yeah.
before anything was built. And so I had the opportunity to see a vision, put it together, and then be able to be like, damn, they got resources. So they just built this $10 million
Right.
space and feeling like a sense of like, dang it, like they done beat me to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as they were beating it, they were reaching out to us to pick up the players, right?
Mhm.
They picking up players, they picking up talent. You
They
got
trying to
Jason
fund
Lake
it,
and
yeah.
saying, hey, who did your videography? Oh, Sean Doe. Oh, Sean Doe gets a $100,000 contract to go all around and do videography for Complexity at Jerry
Wow.
Jones, So in this instance, we are actually able to give talent, give resources to the other esports arenas that are there which is really, really dope because now we don't really look at it as competition. So when it came down time to build a space, I was able to say, okay, well, you have Esports Stadium in Arlington. That's 10,000 square feet, right? In order to be able to make revenue out of space, you got to hope that somebody hosts a tournament in that space that maximizes it, right?
Yeah.
If there's not that many people maximizing that space, then you got to figure out a way to be able to help groom that person, that tournament host, to get to that point.
Yeah.
So when actually opened up this space, we knew that we had to have compartments inside of this space. You know, for somebody who want to do their tournament the first time, they get 2 people inside of the tournament, and then they get 10 people inside of the tournament, then they get 40, and then they get 10,000. Well, there has to be a way to be able to scale up, and there wasn't no way before this space. So now you have this space, and you can come into a specific room. You can go to the 4,500 square foot space, and then when you come out of that 4,500 square foot space, now you're ready for Esports Stadium, or you're ready for Mark Cuban. So we actually build that void.
You are the pipeline.
Yeah.
You're building the pipeline.
Yeah, for sure. On
Okay.
all
aspects.
Yeah.
I feel like history is being made right now.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm honored to be a
Dope.
part of this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah,
It's
because
crazy.
like you're on the ground level, like with the players.
Yes, for sure.
Like-
It's organic, you know.
Yeah.
It's a strictly organic, and that's where I'm confident that I can go give this information out on a
Mhm.
podcast or talk to anybody. But you can't steal like the essence inside
Yeah.
of me when it comes down to understanding the dynamics of esports and
No
just
recipe.
building the platform
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because at this instance, if you take me out of it, then you're gonna have to find somebody to fill that void.
Right. So you host here. You develop players here, so you have the curriculum in full effect. So
Yeah,
how
it
many
starts on
players are-
October 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, so in this instance, we're hoping to get like around about 40 students, but now we recognize that DISD has came on board. That all of their schools now have an esports platform pilot
Yeah.
inside of
Yeah.
it. So we're helping
I love
going in
that.
there and helping build out the esports clubs. Because if you think about it, we're in Dallas. So now when it comes down to it, if you thought about Sprague or Kincaid, we have the only esports stadium in this space, in this area. So as
Right.
DSD hosts an esports club, they need somewhere to compete.
Right.
So they come here.
Right.
So now you're bridging that gap
Mhm.
to the schools
The school.
and the students
Yeah.
themselves.
Into the
So
So when you
Curriculum.
see
So when-
DeSoto,
So you're talking about the premise of like cap culture, like some of the
Yeah.
foundations of why we started this.
Mhm.
You're epitomizing
Yeah,
that.
for
Absolutely.
sure. Like I see, like I still, and it hasn't happened yet, but I see walking out that door and seeing a DeSoto bus pull up and uniforms for esports, and they're competing against Lancaster
Yeah.
because they play NBA 2K and they got a 5-man
Right.
team,
Mhm.
and Lancaster beats them, and now they're able to say, hey, we won the actual championship from a UIL perspective.
Just like high school sports.
Just like high
varsity.
school
Right,
sports.
right.
Yeah.
So do they have to do students and like players? Do they pay
hmm
to like get trained here?
So yeah, so they have the curriculum aspect, but most importantly, it's entering into tournaments. It's such new. So in this instance, we built this technological platform that allows individuals to host their own tournaments. So when individuals come in and host their own tournaments, we actually are able to say, as a player, if you're interested in showing your skill sets, you can enter into these tournaments, and we're looking to be able to build out components to actually produce scouting reports. Those scouting reports can be used for the GMs of the large esports organizations that are looking to be able to
To
identify their
learn
players.
people's tendencies and stuff like
This
that.
is so thorough and thought
Yeah.
out and detailed, and I love
Yeah,
everything about
for
this.
sure, man. It's a lot of time. They say 10,000 hours, but it's
Yeah.
been way more than that.
So in
Wow.
summary, if we could just summarize like how a Geekless will make money, like what? So you've got the curriculum.
You have the curriculum, you have tournament hosting, you have entering into tournaments when there's a prize purse and a venue fee. You have the ability to be able to sell merchandise. You have the ability to rent out the rooms and the facility. You have advertising. You have sponsorships.
Okay.
You have the ability to agent. There's a player component in regards to players getting picked up by
Mhm.
large esports organizations. There's a technical component to it when it comes down to acquisitions of your platform in which you actually built out. There's a plethora of them.
The platform that you built out.
Mhm.
So like, what do you mean by that? Like, so
Yes.
it's not the physical space, but it's.
Yes. So when I coined it Topgolf of esports,
Mhm.
it's when you go to Topgolf, Topgolf did a great job of making golfing fun, right?
Yeah.
And they did it such smooth in regards to the technological aspect of it. When you go to Topgolf, you go into a bay, you type in your credit card, and you're using this platform that has a bunch of games on it,
Okay.
and you're playing
Right.
golf, and you're able to look at it and see where you stand at it. And that's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody, one, you never played golf probably
Right.
before.
Right.
Then, the technical component, you having to figure out how to use it. So the UI and the UX of an actual technological platform
Okay.
makes it so easy and so seamless. And when we thought about it, when it comes down to hosting your own tournaments, we wanted to have that same perspective. So you
Right.
can log onto our system, log in, have your account, be able to create a tournament, post that tournament out into the feed, get individuals to enter into your tournament, and by a proprietary bracketing system, you can be able to see and manage your tournament. So when one gamer wins, you can be able to say that person wins, and it goes to the next round, and to the next round, and to the next round, and you can actually see your results from that perspective.
So you built out, you work with people to build out that proprietary software.
Yes, for sure, and it has not been easy.
That kind of plays into my question of like what the future holds for this platform, or not the platform, but I guess this entire initiative. Like,
multiple locations.
Okay.
Multiple locations.
Spread out.
Replication is a beautiful thing.
I love that. Wow.
So in this instance, you build one technical platform, and it helps monitor all the buildings that you push out.
Right.
Wow.
And I guess that's the power of technology.
That is the power of technology.
Making it scalable.
Yes.
But for you, it's also about the physical space.
It's the physical space because they go hand in hand.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, South Dallas, I mean, this is black folks. This is, so like when you think about like where you want to scale out, is that going to be a part of
for
how
sure.
you scale? And
I actually think that's
places?
our competitive advantage. So when it comes down to looking at, statewide and going to different states, it's how to place this in those urban areas, because that is a competitive advantage for us. So in this instance, now we can go to an Atlanta, we can go to a Washington, D.C., we can go to a California and be able to put this same concept in that area and provide value to the individuals in that area.
Well, okay, question, because I'm thinking about the woman that I mentioned earlier, and so for the listeners,
the woman.
For the listeners, I went to an event earlier. Well, we all went to an event.
Yeah.
Where we all met. An event earlier in the year.
That's the first time we ever met. At the Mavs gaming facility.
Yes, we met at the Mavs.
That's dope.
And a woman came up to me and was mentioning that her girlfriend's son is really into Xbox games, and that's all he does. But the mother she doesn't really approve of it because she doesn't really understand it. And so I was brought into the conversation to just talk about the power of Xbox because I'm coming from Microsoft. So naturally I have like a passion about any product that we have, but just also I understand just how I understand how there's, like, I like to say you're flirting with a six-figure skill, and I'm thinking about that in terms of coding, but also in terms of gaming as well. And being in the Microsoft's ecosystem, I see that there's more to gaming just sitting in front of a screen. So I went to talk to her about that. In her, like, you could just see, I'm not a gamer, so I was trying to like translate that message the best that I could, but you could just see her eyes like lighting up because she had no idea like what the capabilities are behind her son's interests. So if you had to like talk to, like, give some words of advice or like guidance for parents, siblings, spouses, whoever has someone in their world who really like to play games, but like they just
you said that so political and nice. Like, we know this is a source of contention. Mama's love take somebody's game away. You said that so nice.
But could you, like, what would you, like, I would like to hear your thoughts or guidance or advice or like something to those people in that group that.
To the mamas that love
taking.
taking.
To the mamas
Hey,
that love
to the mamas that love taking their kids away.
Yes, for sure. And I'm just gonna be straight real from a perspective is that I was that person that took my brother. I in high school or in college, my brother was in the 9th grade, and while I was in college, he was doing he wasn't doing too good in school. I was in San Antonio, he was here. And so my mom asked me to move him to my dorm room. So he lived with me in my dorm room in college. And so when he would I put him in high school up there, and when I go to professional class, he'll go to high school, and my professors would interact with him, but because I was around so many games, my brother just naturally just adopted games because I would have all the games and all the consoles.
I was going to say, everybody's consoles.
So he just naturally started to emerge inside of games, and so it came to a point where he was playing games so much where he didn't have, I was his role model because it was just us, and I would be like, hey, Marcus, I didn't want to feel like a hypocrite because I'm like, don't play the game, but I'm in games and I got all these games around you, but you didn't do good on your report card, So I got to be like, do your grades or listen in school, if a teacher calls me, I'm just like, God Marcus, you know?
Right.
So I got to that point to where I took the console and slammed it, and you ain't gonna use this.
Yeah.
And then I felt like really bad inside because he was really passionate about this game, you know, like to the point to where he's like, I'm hating you, you know, like I'm like, damn, I feel bad, you know. So without having a kid, you know, I felt that with my brother, you know. So after that moment, I wanted to. It gave me that much more passion to get into this industry and find ways that he can take that passion and excel at it, you know. So when it comes down to it, for a parent, is what I'm seeing right now is the ability for large corporations like Google just made their data plan here, and they're looking for data scientists, you know. So when it comes down to, I hear data scientists, I'm like, how can I incorporate that with all the kids that are around here? When it comes down to metrics in regards to stats collection, and if I know that we have to take in stats, I'm like, okay, find somebody who loves stats, and then as they learn this, they can take their portfolio to Google and say, hey, I actually created a template of all the stats that one can be able to utilize in SQL, right? You know, so in this instance now, Google is like, you know SQL, you know? And so my perspective is the skill sets that are being adopted in the gaming industry are very conducive to not only just gaming or the gaming companies, but all type of companies that are technological bound. And if you think about it, if you don't know tech in this day and age, you're going to be far behind everybody.
For sure.
So in this instance, gaming does the perfect, it bridges it where somebody naturally likes to play games, and then if you tie that of skill sets that are conducive to the real world and the world workforce, then it's just a perfect mirror. So if you say don't play games, you're really cutting off the individual from a lot of opportunities.
So I imagine you embed that curriculum, right? I would imagine that it's not also about like developing your skill set in games, but also the different things that touch gaming.
Yes, for sure. So like camaraderie, communication, leadership. When you see an individual on a team and you can really see 5 individuals, and you can see in a game who comes out as the leader, who directs the pack, who's the quiet analytical person. Those are skills traits that you will get if you did a leadership conference or went to a motivational speaker, and that person is telling you what everything you need to be able to do. You know, so just to kind of see those components being developed in real time is like, all right, you're gonna be dope. You're gonna be successful. Because
That's so foundational for the future too. Like what I'm saying in like for like Fortune 500 companies, like the training that they're starting to shift to is all gamified.
Yes.
Like it's training is gamified.
Same
Leadership development is gamified.
Yeah,
like,
we call it gamification.
yeah, 100%. So like I was just looking at this YouTube video. I can't remember what company was using it, but you put on a VR headset and you're like competing through this game that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing like for work.
Yes.
But it's to see like who's going to be the commander, who's going to be the one that's going to be like the follower, who's going to be the one that's going to be taking the note.
Exactly.
Like companies use that to see, okay, this is how you're going to operate in the workplace. Like here's how I can staff you. Here's how I know what to put you on in certain teams.
Yes.
And that's all foundational to your curriculum and what you're trying to build.
It's like the new Myers-Briggs.
Wow.
Man, that's crazy.
So mamas can stop taking away the consoles. now.
If they're doing bad, take it away. But if they're
Or make
really
them study the analytics
you're
side.
right.
You gotta do the stats.
Right.
You know, the coolest thing is that now that these schools, you gotta do that.
You gotta learn the stats.
Yes, to break down all the stats, you know, that you're seeing from the leaderboards. Like, look at the shot, like every single thing. But, you know, the coolest thing that what I'm seeing right now is that when I'm going into these schools and these teachers are like, man, we can come to your facility and offer field trips for the students that are doing good. You know? Like
positive reinforcement.
Like positive reinforcement. It's like, whoa, like this is how powerful gaming is, and this is how powerful the space is. Now they're like, we'll give a field trip to the individuals who get good grades.
I love it.
And I'm just like, oh man, I never seen that coming. You know?
Did you know that this facility and this model that you had like in the back of your head was going to turn into what it is right now? And this is, I feel like you're just at the tip. Like,
Yeah, just at the tip.
tipping
Yeah,
point, right?
just at the tip. I seen it coming. The suck part is that when you tell somebody, they have no idea many years before, you know. Now it's easier to talk to individuals about it. So
you had this in the back of your head like
yes,
years ago.
for sure. It was
Okay.
many years ago. Man, I graduated out of college in 2011. So even in college, I'm telling people about esports, and nobody is knowing about it. And it ain't nothing. It ain't just really happened until the last 2 years. And even really, it's easier now in this area because one, as I'm talking to parents, is sad. We are moved by money. So I can say this Fortnite player won $3 million, and it was $3 million. Like, oh, I didn't get my son in this. You know, it's like, dang, you know, like that. Take that, but that's enough to make somebody say, okay, let me take this serious. You know?
And we talked about it earlier offline, but as we talk about that, as we know, in every industry where we're consuming it, where we're using it, there is also an exploitation aspect and then various divides, like racial divides. And I know that it's prevalent in the gaming industry.
Yes, for sure.
Like, what are some of the challenges that we face, like African Americans and Black folks, with either getting into the gaming industry or while we're there?
Yeah, so that's a really, really awesome question. And the most premised thing right now is our tools that we have to enter into the game.
Like the
and
PC versus
the console, right? You can easily get a console for $299 or $199, but it's hard to pay $1,000 or $12,000 or $2,000 for the top PC. So the individuals who are paying that amount of capital are more affluent. They have the resources to be able to do that.
And dumb it down.
Okay.
PC, what's the difference between a PC versus the console?
Yes, so from a PC perspective, it allows individuals to be able to use a keyboard, and the graphics and the processors on that PC helps the game be that much more dynamic. Right?
So
it's quicker.
It's faster, it's quicker, it's more vibrant. You can be able to hear somebody's footsteps. You can hear them coming around the corner. A lot of things that have been dumbed down on the Xbox and PlayStation that you are finding it very competitive on a PC.
So the graphics are like
insane.
Out of this world.
Out of this
Because at the end
world,
of the day, like a PlayStation, Xbox, they're all just PCs.
Yes,
they're all
exactly.
computers. But then but it's still like a lower level.
Lower level.
And what you're saying is, Black folks, we're using
Yes.
PlayStation and everything because it's
readily
easier,
available.
it's readily available. But people are literally like getting these PCs that cost so much more money.
Yes, for sure.
They
just naturally have a competitive advantage.
Gotcha. Naturally competitive.
And it's based off of affluent. It's based off of money, the economics about it.
Yeah.
You know?
And then people are like building out these PCs.
Yes,
right?
sure.
Like it's supercomputers.
Super computers, you know? That's the components in which you're seeing right now. So for us here at this space, we're putting individuals in positions where they have to use PCs to force consoles to level up.
But then how right, like we need to be like using PCs, but there's still like a monetary, like there's still a gap.
There's still a
like
gap.
how are you bridging that?
By building spaces like this.
Got you.
Allow somebody to get out of their room, come in and experience it. Once they experience it, they say, all right, this is how I can be able to compete. This is way better.
Gotcha.
Once
so
you
have
see
PCs here.
yes, for sure. We compete highly on PCs here. So once you come here and you go back home, you're like, hey, Mom, I need a PC, you know? Or take me up there.
Let me go to Geekly's every week, you know?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Essentially, you're providing access and opportunity.
Yes.
So that's the gap is access
That's
and
the gap.
opportunity. And that's what that's
Yes,
your
for
solution.
sure.
Okay.
And it's probably like to come here versus the mass. Like, are those facilities, the other facilities, are they as accessible as yours?
No, so they're not. One, their business model, they have to be able to charge a lot of capital to be able to stay afloat because they are in areas in which they focus in on from a league perspective. Their business model is based off of
the professional
league,
like
you know,
straight branding.
like it's straight. Like from a branded perspective, I have my team that's there, and we're practicing complexity, and Frisco is the same way. They have complexity, in which they have a bunch of professional gamers where they provide that facility for them to train and practice. Use things like wearable technology to be able to help the focus and the actual nerve rates of actual players, and just do a lot of testing.
You said the what?
The nerve rates, the composure.
So they
they own it. Yeah,
they
own it
Wow.
for sure.
So who else is like at your level though? Like where you're at in this pipeline? Or the
Oh man,
is
we're
anyone
on,
else like
in this instance, and I feel like we're the only
I'm about
ones
to say,
in
you
this
guys seem extremely
across the
deep.
nation?
across the nation. Yeah,
Bro,
across
that's
the
wild.
nation.
This is history.
I'll give you a perspective. When the NBA 2K League, released, we were the only space in the nation out of all the players. And people in all of the teams, they would be like, Geekly's is doing it. Like we'll see on Twitter, like, man, I wish we had a Geekly's here in Atlanta. I wish we had a Geekly's in New York. I wish we had a Geekly's here, which allowed us to know, like, all right, we got to go to Atlanta.
that's
definitely the
something.
demand. So
Wow.
we recognized early on, and then when we start to see players come out of here and make it to the pro, it made it even more valid.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we just gotta get the resources to keep it going. Because in this instance, to think about going to get more buildings and more capital, that's a whole nother beast in itself.
And I guess like in turn, so we got to close this up soon. But my question for our close up is like, what can we do as a community to support Geekly?
Yes, for sure. It's easy to say share the knowledge.
Yeah.
That's where I would say, like very unselfish. Is just really have an open mind to esports and how it's conducive to our everyday life and where our future is going to be. Really being proactive and innovative in this approach and say, okay, well, you may have kids and you may have kids and those kids may be playing games. So being able to stay up on the knowledge right now, you can put your kid in the best situation. That kid may want to do actual traditional sports and they can learn a lot of things from that of virtual sports that is conducive to that of traditional sports. And I'll give an example. It's like for racing right now, for like if you were in Formula One racing, it costs so much capital to put the actual car on the road to practice, because those cars are very expensive. So what they do is they actually use the actual game and they find the best of the best player in the F1 game. It's a video game, and they use that to be able to test it with the actual race car driver. And the race car driver is in a virtual simulation realm to where they're able to test all the components before they even touch the track. Right, so that's a job that has been created from a virtual standpoint to save money. So if you want to become a gamer, like I'm good at F1 and I just beat this race car driver, so now I can be a race car driver. So
Yeah,
That's
because it's
interesting.
gaming in general. Like to summarize, it's like $100 billion industry.
yeah, for sure.
Esports is where like
It's
1.9
around about
something.
1.3.
Billion?
It's 1.3 billion. It's growing incredibly fast right now. It's growing so fast where the data can't really even catch up with it. It said it was going to be a billion dollar industry in 2020, but that was in 2020. That was like 2016,
Wow.
and we're already past it. We're at 1.3 something now. So like it's moving really really fast.
Wow.
I got one more question for
Yes.
folks that aren't necessarily interested in gaming. Like for me, I'm really interested in the concept and I'm interested in the industry and what the industry's impact is. So like when I'm thinking about gaming, I'm thinking about Geek Leads. It kind of reminds me of Apple in a sense, where it's like this new disruptive kind of thing, and now everything models itself around it. So like everything has to be compatible with the iPhone.
For sure.
Everything needs to work with the iPad. When I'm thinking about the gaming industry, now I'm starting to see like companies redesigning products specific for the industry, or thinking about how can I market and advertise specifically for the industry. What are some of the things that you're seeing? I think we talked about like the Mountain Dew thing.
The Mountain Dew, yes, for sure. So the Mountain Dew can is one of those dynamics for esports, and then also just the culture in general, like the artists. Like the cool thing is that you have Trill, you have a bunch of DJs that are in the city, top DJs in the city, and they play Madden. Well, for them, they're coming here and doing their Madden League online, where they usually do it. Now they're finna do it live. So a popular DJ can now bring their crowd here and engage with them while they're playing video games. So now, instead of them from a club perspective, they're actually bringing the club to video games because it's something they naturally do, right? And when I seen it, and when he came up to me, I was like, oh snap. So in this instance, now he's brought Dez Bryant and some individuals from Dallas Mavericks that comes out of here, and they're like, oh yeah, like I game. So just the culture around gaming is merging. I've seen Lupe Fiasco, get tested because the industry and the community of esports is so close knit to where they just not letting everybody inside of here. But when you actually show that you have interest, they will support you out of the world. So a lot of companies are starting to model themselves around esports, as you stated, and it's really really cool to see. From the shoe perspective, just as much from the actual soundtracks of the games. It's all of those components are very very cool to be able to see.
Our culture is all around. It's
Our
all
culture is
embedded.
all around it.
It's basically the heartbeat. It's like the rhythm of it.
Yes.
Like you said, the gaming, the tournaments, even Madden, the 2K.
Yes.
Like the soundtracks is hip hop.
Yes,
And,
for sure.
and I can guarantee you that these artists are trying to come up with music that will
Yes.
fit the gaming culture,
Exactly.
the beats, the
For sure.
production. Like,
For sure. For
that's-
sure.
yeah.
I mean, to add another one, because I know we got time, but just to now with our space, like just like traditional realm, when you have a halftime show and basketball, we're now having halftime shows where artists are coming in and performing now
Oh my God.
in between
That's
the Madden
wild.
games
This
and
is
NBA 2K
crazy.
games. So this is one thing that we can do that has not even been done.
You guys have
Wow.
events and stuff that are like open to the public? Like,
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So events that are open to the public, we have a set schedule from 7 to 11 every single day inside of here where individuals can spectate and also enter into the tournaments when it comes down to it. So this pace is going to
We
be...
need to figure out.
Yeah, we
like,
better
need
have
to
part two of that. I was about to say, we
part
better
two.
have a field trip.
We need a part two.
Yeah.
All of those come to one of these tournaments.
Yeah, for sure.
That probably got some black food trucks outside. And stuff like that.
Man, this is crazy. So we need to figure out contact information.
Yes, for sure.
All of that.
So Geek Leads, Geek and Athlete, if you guys don't know, everything from every social media, from that of Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram. If you guys wanted to follow the content, follow Instagram. If you guys really wanted to understand the dynamics of esports, follow our Twitter.
Okay.
That's where our community lies. That's where
Okay.
information is shared. That's where news is being pushed out.
Right.
Twitter is everything for our community. So
That's
definitely,
Twitter and Twitch.
definitely. And if you wanted to kind of validate Geek Leads, we just was released on Forbes just a minute ago. So easily go to Geek Leads and Forbes, and you'll see a whole article that's
We'll
specifically
post
rendered.
all these links.
Say that
so
one
you
more
guys-
time, though.
Yeah,
I want to make
right.
sure you talk your shit. He said Forbes.
He's
We
been
have
flexing
definitely-
this whole
Right, right.
It's in math flex.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't get past the
Definitely,
15,000.
definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
just casually.
I think Jay, aka Baby Yeezus, I think we need to
Yeah,
get him
for sure.
to like get some shots of like just
Yeah.
to verify that it's 15,000 square feet.
That's crazy.
For sure.
Hey, this is bigger than the Mavs gaming
It is,
facility.
yeah, for
Way
sure.
bigger.
Low key, and it's in
Talk
South
your
Dallas.
shit.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah,
it's gonna
pop
be
your
some cool
shit.
things that's coming outside of here. Some very, very inspirational, some very groundbreaking things.
Yeah,
that
for
we're
sure.
gonna bring to this community.
Glad we-
My
Yeah.
biggest thing is that the community respects it. We have things
Yeah.
like Nipsey and all kind of crazy stuff that goes in the world. When somebody brings something and they take a huge risk to be able to do something dope,
That's right.
my only
Yeah.
thing is how when people take care of it.
Yeah.
Take care of it. If I'm not here tomorrow, I hope that it carries on from here
That's
on out.
real.
I love
Respect it. And, you know,
I wanna
this-
clap
this
so
is
bad,
foundational.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Microphone.
It's a foundational thing. It's definitely important that we lift you up,
Yeah.
especially in this.
'Cause
I'm
it's
glad
tough,
that-
man. It is
Yeah.
tough.
First one through the door.
Yeah.
Right, I get
Wow.
it.
For sure.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
Absolutely. Do that.
That's
Well,
dope.
thank you. For
Thank
this.
you.
I feel like we need a part 2 to this conversation.
Oh yeah, we coming back. We
That was
coming back.
it.
Yeah, bro, we can't even get through. I mean, that's part 2. It's so much.
That's dope. Yeah, it's a lot, man.
But yeah, we'll be sure to post a guide for this. Make sure you guys are following us, Cap Culture Pod on Instagram. We'll make sure you also have the information for Geek Leads on both Twitter, Instagram, and any additional. I remember you mentioned the Forbes article. We'll make sure you guys have access to all of that in the guide.